And today is All Saints Day for those who observe this day. So I hope you have a great All Saints Day. The Seattle Community Police Commission acknowledges that we are on the traditional land of the Coast Salish people, including the Muckleshoot, Suquamish, and Duwamish people, past and present. And with humility, we recognize how much we benefit from living on their land and water. The Seattle Community Police Commission honors and highly esteems these tribes, and we hope that this acknowledgement will encourage authentic relationships with urban Native people and all Coast Salish tribes. Make sure my video is on. There we go. I'll take attendance at this point. Commissioner Lars Erickson.
Present.
I saw Commissioner Erickson. Commissioner Patricia Hunter is present. Commissioner Phil Sanchez. Commissioner Adrian Levin. Good morning. Commissioner Suzette Dickerson. Commissioner Lynn Wilson.
Present.
Good morning. Commissioner Raven Nicole Tyler.
Good morning.
Good morning. Commissioner Mary Ruffin. Good morning. Commissioner Reverend Harriet Walden. Good morning. Commissioner Joel Merkel.
Good morning, present.
Good morning. Commissioner Isaiah Washington. Commissioner Officer Mark Mullins.
Present.
Good morning. Commissioner Lieutenant Tony Gatke.
Good morning, everyone. Present.
Good morning. Commissioner Jeremy Wood. Commissioner Tasha Johnson. Good morning. And Commissioner Erica Newman.
Present.
Good morning. Well, we all received the draft of today's agenda, and I would entertain a motion to accept that agenda.
I'll make that motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda that's been distributed to us. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any abstentions? Thank you. We also, the motion is carried. We also received minutes from our last meeting. Are there any corrections to the minutes? And then I would also entertain a motion to accept the minutes as distributed.
Co-Chair Hunter, Commissioner Getke, I have a correction for the meeting minutes that I noticed related to under the behavioral health report update on the second bullet. They mentioned that the next crisis intervention training at the European Training Center. I'm assuming that should be Burien, unless we're going to Europe.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Any other corrections? Okay. Was there a motion? Did I hear a motion to receive as corrected?
I move to accept the minutes as corrected.
Thank you. Is there a second? All those in favor of accepting the minutes as corrected, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? The motion is carried. Thank you so much. Are there any co-chair updates? I don't have anything. Reverend Walden, Commissioner Merkel? Do you have anything?
anything at this time.
Okay. Moving right along to the executive director updates. Dr. Ellis, present to us, please.
Yes, so I am very excited. Some of the commissioners know, but not everybody does, that our new senior policy analyst, Danny Sullivan, is starting today. And so Danny's going to be reaching out to all of you that are on the work groups to sort of pick you back up to where you were a few months ago and make sure that everything moves forward. So we're personally very, very excited to have Danny on the staff, and I wanted to give Danny a moment to introduce themselves.
I have video. Trying to get it on. So sorry. Okay. I think it's working.
Yeah.
Can everybody hear me? Okay. Okay, I'm still getting used to my new laptop. Okay, can everyone hear me now? Okay, hi everyone, I'm Danny. As Colleen mentioned, I'm the new senior policy analyst at the CPC. I've been here for all of 1 hour, so I don't have much to contribute at this time, but I know I'll be working closely with all of you, so I look forward to connecting really soon and sitting in on today's meeting.
Welcome. Yes, indeed, welcome.
Happy to be here.
Welcome.
Thank you. You indeed are brand spanking new.
I am.
An hour. Yeah.
Really, really excited to be here.
Great, well, we're definitely excited to have you with us. Is that it, Dr. Ellis?
I can
Yeah.
talk a little bit about, I know that Director Cross is going to talk about her experience at the Consent Decree Conference, but I can also share some of the learnings that we had. So Director Cross and I went to the Consent Decree Conference at Tarleton State University in Fort Worth. This was October 19th to 20th. And this was a very interesting conference because this brought together multiple people from all over the country in multiple ways that are working under consent decrees. So there were other people from Seattle. The Seattle Police Department was there. Judge Robart was there. Antonio Oftali was there. But also there were places that they're beginning the process of having a consent decree. There are places that are kind of in the middle of that process. And again, these were folks from all over the country. So it was a great opportunity to make connections and to have a lot of learning from what happens with consent decrees, and for our purposes, especially community engagement. There's a lot of ways that the community can be engaged, and it was very helpful to learn exactly what they're doing. And we have some ideas as well for what we're doing going forward.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is community engagement updates, and Director Cross.
Good morning.
Morning.
We went to, as Executive Director Holly Ellis was speaking, we went to a couple of conferences, and particularly the Consent Decree Conference was quite interesting because it was people from the Department of Justice, and I was excited about the fact that Dr. Oftali actually broke down and gave as an example the community engagement plan that we put together here in Seattle. And Seattle was mentioned quite a bit in that conference. And so it was nice to see how others view community engagement here in Seattle from the telescope instead of the microscope, I say. And it was a good feel to see that we are leading the way. Sometimes we get stuck in our tunnel vision, but the way we were received and talked about in a positive manner for community engagement in particular at that conference was really engaging. Keisha, would you mind?
Yeah, I'm being asked to share a video, so hopefully the sound works because I didn't get a chance to test. So those of you that are online, if you can just give me a thumbs up when it plays, if you hear sound, I'd appreciate that.
Our community engagement team headed to the International Association of Chiefs of Police Conference in San Diego. This is Joe Nathan Thomas, and it was my first trip to IACP with 173 countries represented and 30 33,000 members. It's a big conference, but not too big, as I bumped into my old college teammate, Jay Day, and his wife, who's now the chief of police for our old college town in Eastern Washington. Reflecting back on my experience, I was amazed at the diversity, warmth, and integrity of these officers across the globe, along with the countless sessions that stressed the mounting importance of community trust and policing, which affirms that the CPC is on the right track.
My name is Merdito. I'm the community engagement specialist. This is my second time attending this conference, and my takeaway was engaging with different police officers outside of United States, included Bangladesh police, Nigerian police, Zimbabwean police, Indonesian police, Ivory Coast police, how they do their work and how they engage with the community. And I also, on my break, went to a Sudanese community center to visit, do the community service and engage with the community and the police department.
Hi, that's me, Felicia Cross, on IEC TV, talking about making new connections at the conference. I also participated in a panel discussion about training and technical assistance as a subject matter expert for community engagement. We saw lots of friends from Seattle, and then it was time to catch another plane to Texas for a special invite to the 2023 Consent Decree Conference. Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clark and I had a very nice chat. When I finally had time to reflect on the conference, I was reminded of the importance of community. How nice it was to be acknowledged by the federal monitor and Judge Robart of our community engagement work and the work of the CPC, and how phenomenal the networking is at these conferences, and how many amazing resources are for all of us to share. Thank you. I appreciated the time. I feel honored.
So that was just some little caption of some of our activities. I also would like to turn some of this over to our two specialists here for community engagement, and to talk about some of the other work we've done in this past couple of weeks. So would you like to start maybe just by yesterday?
Yeah. Yesterday, all three of us met with Muslim leaders at their center with Chief DS, where he was there also. They have raised a lot of issues that is going on. As you all know, there is a Palestine and Israel war going on, and it does affect the people who live outside of that place, included here in Seattle. So we discussed a lot of public safety, hate crimes, and this particular mosque is located on Renton Avenue and Henderson, for those of you who know that area. And they've been there for 11 years. They own the property. They have said a lot of what the neighbors said. Oh, since you moved here, things change. There's peace and a lot of things change, but they still getting like the building got shot about a month ago. And I want to say thank you to Jonathan and Felicia for coming and listening to this. This is not the last time we're gonna visit. We're gonna continue to visit different faith-based organizations.
In addition to yesterday, we had a great day with the community. They were so welcoming, really grateful to the commission and to the chief for being there. And they had lots of great questions, and they're gonna have us back again with a list of their concerns, which were, more, in light of what's going on today. So they were great. They were happy to have connections and resources and just that communication with D2 is absolutely phenomenal. They praised her for the work she does, not just in her own community, but throughout the city, and what an asset she is to have working within the Community Police Commission. So of course I had to totally agree. We also went to, and we had a lunch, early dinner, I guess, and over at one of the restaurants in some of their folks. Yeah, some of their, and then also it was really interesting because they allowed us to tour their whole facility, which as you know, in their faith, women are here, the men went to a different way, but they showed us the whole facility, and it was really, really encouraging and enlightening to be a part of that. You want to add?
Well, yeah, I mean, well, I also want to talk about something else, but just adding to that, yeah, it was a powerful time, definitely. And it was just powerful to see, seeing our chief move and the trust that he's also gaining in the community, and the trust that we're building in the community, because that's a big part of it. I was going to talk about some of the training that we did the past week, because that was one of the big themes that kept coming up, was trust, and how to connect with this community. And then I kind of segue, because it reminds me, because there's a story that both you and Carly encouraged me to tell. I was just talking to Carly about this on Monday, talking about trust. Bumped into an old acquaintance. He's an attorney, and he's a strong advocate for the community, civil rights, etc. He was actually part of those folks who were really against defunding the police. And I say that because this is relevant to what we're doing right here. He just asked what I was doing for work, and I was letting him know what I was doing with the Community Police Commission. And sometimes, of course, a lot of times when people hear police, their eyebrows raise up, and I think I got a badge, and they start to want to back away from me, and I have to explain what we're about. And he was reminded of one of his family members who's actually looking into getting a policing, but he was actually looking to go out. He's from the Central District. So let me step back. This particular lawyer, he's African American and he's Native American, and so he's also part of a tribe. So he's doing a lot of work with his tribes as well as the community. But his family members also Black and Native too, and he's from the community. But all to say is he was looking at other police positions outside of the city, but he had actually talked to him about, if you really want to make an impact, it may be helpful to come in the city of Seattle. But all to say is he asked me to, I asked if I can talk with him. He was fine with that. Actually, he asked me to talk to him. Just to let him know more, because he was interested about what we're doing. And I let him know about, let his family member know about what we were doing. We had a great call. I got him connected with Lieutenant Brandon James, the SPD. He was excited. He ended up talking to him, and they had a great conversation. He's like, this guy's perfect. This is the kind of guy that we want. And so, so they're working to get him through that process, talking about before the badge and everything else. And so it was exciting because me and Reverend welcome to this moment, we're just talking about reform, just meeting ways that we can do it, and how we can have an impact along with our policy. And and that was just one of those things we just recognized, we're making these relationships in the community, how we're building these trusts, how we can get results like that. We're getting, getting a young man like that into SPD, but all that, I'll step into real quick, our executive leadership challenge. Just a brief snippet we were able to bring into town. Assistant Chief Azir Nuruddin, she's retired. She's part of Noble, correct? Yeah. Brief snippet about her. Assistant Chief Nuruddin was a veteran law enforcement executive with over 34 years of experience. And we got a chance to experience all of that. She was recently retired. But just over the 2 days, we just took part in a lot of some very intensive courses. We were learning about leadership development. We were talking about a lot of great themes, focusing on the why and how character and trust and team development are all part of our development, but it was deeper than that. We had a lot of great exercises that we were doing to help instill these lessons, and you had to be there. Like, I don't want to tell too much of her stuff because I know, but she put us through some serious obstacles, from blindfolds to ropes. I won't get into too much, but it was great because you can see how it was a great metaphor to life, and they were powerful, and I believe we all got something out of it. It was cool to see even more so with that session as we're working as our team. We are also able to reach out across the board, and so with folks from OPA and OIG were able to come in and take part of the session as well. We all had a good time together, bond as a team. We even have a little team name called the Red Pandas to invite it. That was actually Colley's idea, so shout out to Colley on that one. But we really gelled around that because the meaning of Red Pandas was about being small but mighty, and at that time, that's how he felt, and that's how we were able to get through the course. And then Chief Diaz actually made another visit there as well. And it was good to see him because he really spoke highly of her year, which was helpful. He spoke about experience, and it's good to know that he has trust in her too, and that kind of helped. I think helped me too, just to say, hey, she knows what she's doing. It's clear, and because you got respect for her. And speaking about Chief DS too and respect, and then I'm just gonna go back to what the E2's back into the E2 speech because they're too humble to speak on it, and the chief visited. Well, first, it's good to see him make these visits and affirm what we're doing. And we were out there yesterday with Felicia and Regitu, and we're all sitting out there talking with the community. It was cool because first we're building those relationships and we're seeing it in that session, but even in that time when we were with the Muslim community, we can see how we were all kind of back and forth. We were kind of having this fluid exchange with the chief, which is part of what we're doing with community and how he's believing in us and how we're supporting SPD, which is again, really helpful when we're having these engagements. But he also made a powerful statement when he was trying to, he spoke highly of Regitu. But in particular, he made a comment about, he said it was, when they call, he comes, and he said he's like 5 numbers on my phone. And when they call, I come. And he said there are 2 of them right here in this room. So that was a powerful statement. That you can see the eyes of everybody in the room. They really lit up because again, they're believing in what we're doing with the CPC and the connections that we're trying to make. So I just thought it was a powerful statement. They wouldn't say, even Chief said, Felicia said, come to Cleveland for the conference. He said, I just did it. I just flew to Cleveland. I went to the conference with them. So it's powerful to know that we have these connections. And again, just glad to see that we're building that trust in community. We've been brainstorming. We're working on brainstorming some more for the next year coming up. And we're just looking to make an impact.
Thank you. Anything else? Thank you all for your hard work and your impact in the Seattle community. Appreciate it. When our special guest comes up, please let me know and so that we can have her present in a timely manner. Oh, sure.
I just wanted to ask a question about the consent decree conference. I mean, was everybody there? I'm glad the DOJ had come to town. I mean, because I mean, it's not always the case here in Seattle. So just was wondering, were they everybody for every community, people who were there, were they glad that? I mean, because they can't do what a lot of community people think they can do. They do technology stuff and work in that way, and that's not what people thought that they can do. So just wanted to know. Were there any of the cities that might be dissatisfied that you might have sidebar conversation with? I know that Judge Robot is really a star right now because of his tenure working with the community with the consent decree here in Seattle. Because he was not a star in 2013. He didn't like us at all. So
he really did praise the CPC, and he, as he always does, he said, he had not always been a fan, but things are on the uptick. The one thing that I asked about, and they kind of touched on it, was about like the bargaining agreements and how that plays into the consent decree. This conference, we couldn't take pictures, we couldn't, you know, it was very exclusive. And,
Because they're federal judges,
but also another takeaway was like, when, U.S. Attorney General Kristen Clark got up to talk, her whole speech was about Seattle. And so, I mean, they see Seattle very differently than some of us see it here in the pot, but, it was a lot of very other cities that, you know, like after Dr. Optelli gave his panel discussion, they came up and wanted to know more about or how they could engage or how we could be a model for them.
I think one of the questions that I've been trying to figure out is that in every city, the shootings went up. No city that has had a consent decree that the shootings went down. And I don't know if that's ever part of the discussion, because that's what community people are interested in. They're interested in the shootings going down and police officers held accountable and not being able to get their jobs back. And in those areas, they're failures. I mean, and all the people I've talked to in every city, I mean, they don't answer that piece. There's no way that they can answer that piece. Or so we're on the phone with people in Albuquerque. The shootings continue to escalate in Albuquerque, and they was under consent decree too, and also in Oakland and all those other places. And so, I mean, because there's another side of it, and I don't think that we get to that other side on how the people who work to bring them here, how they feel when they're getting ready to go home. So yeah, it's a whole different reality, you know. So, and they can, you know, people can always talk about how good it is, but you know, if you pull all the people who worked on this 2010 up to now, you're going to get a different reality, a different how they feel about it. So yeah, that's good.
I would say a number of the people that were talking about that were discussing how communities where this is coming to them need to adjust their expectations of what this is going to do.
Exactly.
They were very clear on the limits of what DOJ and the consent decree actually brings, what they can do, what they're going to do. And I would say, you know, even DOJ was themselves very clear on, like, this is the limits of what we can do. So this is a challenge for community members to really sort of have clear understanding of what's happening when this process begins.
So nobody explained that. I mean, that's an add-on for the DOJ. We didn't do that before, and you've had a lot of criticism from us when we met with them about that. But there's another statute that they don't use. And if they use that as a statute when they come in, some police officers, departments would be decertified. So they're not willing to bring all the tools that they can to a city when a city is having police issues. I mean, communities having issues with the police, because that other one says that, I don't know what statute it is, but it's another statute that they would use that would really bring a hammer, and they're not willing to do that piece. So that's the frustration. So,
Thank you so much.
that's good.
Yeah, that's an important piece that we need to keep in mind.
Yeah, I'm glad we had all these conferences and brought back so much information and experience. And one thing I'll just say, one brief thing about the training. I was there on Wednesday, and Reverend Hunter was there also. And a lot of the commissioners, I mean, you had a lot of fun if you had been there. So next time we have the training, I again, bringing in another facilitator, I hope that with some of the commissioners get time, because really, I couldn't do both things. But the time that I was there, trust was, yeah, you had to build some trust and with the exercises. And so I thought it was really worth the time to be there. I just couldn't come both days and I couldn't stay. But so I would encourage other commissioners. Reverend Hunter was there, so yeah, I would encourage other commissioners to come the next time that they do that.
Thank you, Dr. Wong. And thank you both. I didn't acknowledge, but thank you both for taking the time out to come. And just the participation, Jessica was there, and the participation was just awesome for the time that was able to be spent. And I do want to acknowledge, thank you for that.
I'm going to ask for a point of privilege and moving some things around in our agenda. We are running a bit long, and we have our special guest that is here to present to us And I know that she has other work obligations and so needs to share what she's going to bring to us and then move on with her day. And so I'm going to move us to our community concern about violence and public safety. And today we have the opportunity to hear from Ms. Apollonia Washington, a small business owner in the Central District, and she is the owner of A for Apple Learning Center. And we heard about this center a couple of weeks ago, when on October 16th, a bullet shattered the window of her learning center while children were nearby. And Ms. Washington, we are happy to hear from you today. We regret circumstances that bring you here, but we are glad that you are able to share with us. So please let us know what you would like to share with the Community Police Commission this day. And commissioners, if you are here and your camera is off, I would ask that you please turn your cameras on so Ms. Washington can see some of our faces. Thank you.
I see everyone. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to be real brief. I'm getting my master's, so I have to go student teach as well. So I'm going to be real brief, but I did want to make sure that take the time to talk to you guys, just to give you some updates of where we're at as far as community-wise. I have a meeting today with Vulcan. They reached out to me finally after 2 years. They reached out to me, and we're going to come together to talk about strategies of how to clean this area up. It's something that's been long needed and overdue, and it took a bullet to come through my window in one of my classrooms for them to actually want to take action. So just right now, we've had a few meetings with community members. I wrote down their concerns, and we've talked about strategies and what we can do as a community to strengthen our community. But I do have to address Vulcan because they own this parking lot that's right across the street, and they've neglected the parking lot as landlords for decades. You know, I'm born and raised in the Central District. I own my home over here as well as my business. So I've seen the shifts, but I've seen this 23rd and Jackson area be overlooked for many years. But now it's time for change. So the community, we then came together because many folks are tired. That's from it can be children who are tired, youth who are tired. It can be my parents who are tired. Doctors have reached out to me. People from all over have reached out to me. We're all tired. We want to reclaim our community. So I'm interested in hearing what Vulcan has to say that they've been doing, because I really haven't seen too much of anything besides them activating community passageway in the area, which community passageway can't save the Central District, can't save 23rd and Jackson. It takes more than that. So I'm curious to see what they're going to say today and how we can work together to make 23rd and Jackson feel like home for everyone and a safer place. So that's where I'm at right now. I'll be glad to update everyone after my meeting with them this afternoon. I don't know, Reverend Walden, if you want to have me come back and talk, but just keep us lifted as a small business owner. It is frustrating. You know, I built many relationships with families, but I did lose some families because of other traumas they may have dealt with and they didn't want to revisit. So for me, that's like, oh, I'm losing relationships with families, but not only that, I'm losing revenue, which is frustrating. You know, that it's like, and then we have to talk about getting bulletproof windows, something that we shouldn't have to even think about. Bulletproof windows, you know what I mean? So it's a lot of conversations going on, not just with 23rd and Jackson, just making the whole Central District feel safe for everyone, because it's happening up and down 23rd and Jackson. So again, as community members, we've been coming together. I appreciate Chief Diaz, he's provided the police van over here, which I wish it was there a while ago because I've been seeing high schoolers being able to enjoy the bus stops. My family's being able to enjoy the bus stop, and it looks a lot cleaner. No loitering. I'm not seeing people OD at the bus stop. I'm not seeing elders being harassed. It looks really beautiful. Something that should have been supported a long time ago. Again, I'm not going to dwell on it, but moving forward, we're coming together as a community. We're going to reclaim this central district and make it a better place for us all.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing. There may be some questions, but I think I have one. I think I read or heard in one of your presentations that you had some ideas of what could happen to make 23rd and Jackson or other places in the central area a bit safer. Could you speak a little bit about what you think might help right now?
Yeah, having more community walk up and down our streets, you know, letting their presence be known. People who's licensed to carry, be able to walk up and down the streets. It doesn't necessarily have to be an armed officer. It can be somebody who looked just like you and me. Just coming together to clean up the area. Activating the businesses that are waiting to be open. I mean, maybe they need some extra support, and we talked about that in our groups. How can you guys get some extra support so that you can activate your spaces? And all of us just working together to strategize what we can do and coming together, figuring out, okay, this plan, that plan, let's put it to action.
Thank you. Any other commissioners have questions? Comments?
I have a question. Thank you so much for coming in today, and helping us understand what's happening in the neighborhood. Can you tell me what can Vulcan do to help in this instance?
Yeah. Vulcan, they can take accountability for their parking lot. We've asked for police to patrol the parking lot, even patrol around just the blocks. We've asked that. I remember I sat with the representative on several occasions and asked, hey, maybe you guys can do what you did over there at Amazon and put in the gates, which they put in the gates. And then so we can get some of these cars that just loiter here all day, maybe start charging after an hour. You know, we try to come up with different techniques to work together. Take accountability for your parking lot. You guys are the owners of that parking lot. A lot of the crime is coming from that parking lot. That day when my window was shattered, the victim plus the person who did the shooting, they both came out of that parking lot. I mean, I see they have security guards, but are they really doing their job? Because most of the time they're just sitting there, and maybe you'll pop out here and there. I rarely see them. Activating their space to where everybody feels safe. I get tired of hearing that's just how the area is. No, who's the owners of this parking lot? Where Black Coffee is going to be housed, that space could have been activated. I know a few of us community members, hey, can we get Buna Buna in there, another coffee place in there until you guys find somebody long-term? They weren't for community. They said they were looking for somebody for long-term lease. Well, who they have moving in there, they're still not in there. They're not planning on being in there until February 3rd. You know, and they showed up to the meeting, which we encouraged them, start activating your space to show the community that you're here, because it looks like just an empty space. So they did open their space yesterday. The Learning Center was able to go over there and engage in that, as well as children in the community. But it took us to have that conversation for that to happen. And it shouldn't have taken that conversation for that to happen. I just need Vulcan to have more accountability. So there's been numerous of crimes over in that area. From my understanding, there's about 4 or 5 other lawsuits going on in that area, to where I'm looking at, do I need to have a lawsuit? Because I've again lost revenue. I have to get my staff, I have to get them therapy, as well as myself and my mom, as being the owners. This has been stressful. And it's a lot, and I shouldn't have to think about bulletproof windows. And that's something where I'm probably going to have to come out of my pocket for, which I shouldn't have to. So this area needs to be safer. You know, I have a daughter who goes to Washington. She's terrified to walk across the street. I have to meet her at the corner daily. I have a son who goes to Garfield. I want him to feel comfortable getting on the bus without people loitering in the bus stop, worrying about if there's drug dealers in the bus stop or druggies in the bus stop. And I hear this all the time. And for my potential clients who come and do tours, they always ask me about across the street, but I don't own across the street. I own A for Apple Learning Center, 323 23rd Avenue South. So Vulcan needs to take accountability for their parking lot. Their tenants. I tried to lease some stalls over there just to try to help clean up. Maybe if they see there's learning center stalls over here, you know, it can redirect because they know there's children over here. They told me, oh, it's a long process. They have to talk with their tenants. Well, your tenants, AutoZone, they're a hot mess. Let's keep it real. They're a hot mess. And your Black Coffee space isn't activated. So, and I've done talked to several of the businesses over there where they might be packing with guns, but they're terrified, or they might be used to it, but I'm not, and I'm not going nowhere, you know, but I need this area to feel a lot safer, because there are not only Black businesses, there's a lot of women-owned businesses up here, and we don't feel safe. And here I am, a child care provider. I can't even have my gun at the Learning Center. It's in our WAC. You can't have a gun at the Learning Center, even though I would love to have one. So there's many of days that I've done prayed that, Lord, let me be safe going across the street, or let me be safe going downstairs to my car. And I shouldn't have to feel like that. This is my community. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Reverend Walden has a question or comment.
Well, you know, I've reached out to Vulcan also and talked to people about the hiring police for security. And more than once I've talked to them about the area because of the shooting. I think Ian that owns that owns the store on 23rd and Union, the marijuana store. One of his employees got shot up there, and a child got shot there. And when Starbucks closed the store, closed the coffee shop, then even more activity came there, and Walgreens don't have anything on the shelves in there because theft is so high because of the previous prosecutor stopped prosecuting misdemeanors, and so it's nothing on the shelf. And when you go into the Walgreens, I don't even go in there anymore. And the other day, when I was trying to reach you, I did go into the Magic Dragon place, but you're right about the AutoZone, because a lot of people who act like they're working on cars are actually selling dope. I mean, that's one of the ways they do that. So I agree, and Vulcan is just waiting for the property to deteriorate. I mean, I have not been friendly to us at all. And more than one group of people have reached out to them, and I was one of them. So, I mean, we're here to support you. And also, I mean, city council, you know, I mean, nobody thinks about public safety for the African American community. I mean, they don't think about that. They think about that, you know, they don't think about what we really need in our community. for our children to feel safe, and we normalize violence, and so they think that our kids don't need to be safety. So thank you for your time, and and I take my hat off and I say that, I mean, my other organization that I'm involved with, Mothers Police Accountability, we can reach out to you also, and the commission. So please keep us updated, please.
Oh, well. Thank you all for letting me share space with you. You guys have a wonderful day.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
Can you
guys.
take one more comment?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Hello?
Commissioner Newman, I see your hand. And Commissioner Mullins.
Yeah, thank you. I just, I think for clarity, I see that there's a mobile police van in the parking lot up on 23rd and Jackson, but I don't know if it's just parked there or are there officers in the van at all times. And so I think when we talk about safety within that corridor and within the larger community, I think there's a couple things that we have to make clear to the community. What I'm hearing is that there is some confusion on, does the police, well, we know that there's vacancies. Is there money within their budget to hire? Or have they been defunded and not been able to hire? And so I want the message to be clear to community regarding that. And even putting the mobile van there, I think there was some incident early this morning in that same corridor. And I have to say, I worry about, my own safety, my kids' safety, my mother's safety who lives in the immediate area. And so I would like for maybe Seattle Police or whoever, somebody to give accurate and up-to-date info regarding the recruitment of new police officers and what that looks like. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Newman. Officer Mullins?
Yes, I just wanted to reach out to Ms. Washington and try to get her my contact number so that we can talk to her about what's been happening or the strategy that's been used in Rainier Beach. We do have a mobile precinct out at the Safeway where a shooting or several shootings have occurred. And we've been able to curtail those shootings since that shooting happened. And there's a lot of proof of that. I too have been frustrated with 23rd and 23rd and Jackson. My Masonic temple is there, and the older gentleman there can't even cut the grass without being threatened. That used to be a pinnacle of the community. It used to be a place that was respected, and it used to be a place where that was a no-go zone for criminals. And now it's totally different. There's disrespect, there's disregard, and there's threats going on. So I know exactly what's going on in that area, and I am very upset about it. But what tends to happen when we have a problem area like this, and what has been a result of our downsizing, I won't say defunding, is CPT, the community police teams, are gone. I have no idea why the CPT is gone. In each precinct, we had a unit of people who worked on long-term problems. And this problem is one of them. The community police team would be on this if, I guarantee you, if this would happen. We need to reinstate our community police teams. And I realize we're short on officers, we are. We're definitely short on officers. But I would like to talk to Ms. Washington about the methods that we're using in Rainier Beach, because they've been very successful, and they could be successful there as well. I heard someone talk about recruitment and what is involved in that. Ladies and gentlemen, people don't want to be the police anymore. Okay, they've been discouraged to be police, especially in Seattle. So we're trying to fight against that and trying to get people excited about the career of being a police officer. We've talked about sending Black officers to HBCs and having sessions with the graduates to try to encourage them to be police officers here. All kinds of various suggestions that we've made. So our recruitment is down, and our being able to, once we get people in the system, it's hard to get them through the program. We're having a hard time getting people through the program. They're not passing. So we've got to work harder on that. And I'd be glad to answer any questions that anybody wants to ask about recruitment and retainment and trying to get more police officers on the street.
Thank you, Officer Mullins.
Is there a possibility that I could get Miss Washington my phone number?
We can make sure that happens. We
Okay.
can text it to you, email it to you, so that you all can make connections.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And Ms. Washington, I want to respect your time. You said you had to run for a class, so I don't want to keep you longer than what is comfortable for you.
Now, any more questions? Anything? I want to make sure I answer.
Okay.
I've been enjoying you guys.
Thank you for coming.
Any other comments or questions? Well, thank you so very, very much. Erica, is that another? Commissioner Newman?
No, I'm sorry, that was an accident, but I will say I do want to follow up with Mark Mullins. I have a lot of questions regarding recruitment, retainment, and strategy. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. We look forward to
you.
continued conversations and supporting you on getting our community much safer.
We are. Thank you so much, you guys.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. Let's back up a little bit on our agenda. Let's go back to the work group updates and see if there's any news there. Danny, we certainly look forward to you working with the commissioners and our work groups as we strengthen our efforts and our output. Is there an update from the complaint and appeals work group?
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, great. So the Complaint and Appeals Work Group met last week with Dr. Rosenthal, who's the subject matter expert that is working on a white paper for the analysis of complaint and appeals processes in comparable jurisdictions. He's finished with his research, so he's interviewed, or he's done research and interviewed people in the 6 comparable jurisdictions, mostly comparable by size. And we expect a draft of his paper in the next couple of weeks. And then we have a meeting with him scheduled, and Danny, I'll include you in that. We're looking forward to having you join. We have a meeting scheduled in late November to ask him questions about his draft, and then hopefully we'll have a final draft to share with everyone. He provided some sort of overview of what his findings, which were complex and are probably just better to wait until his final draft. But it sounds like basically each of the 6 comparable jurisdictions is different, and they all have their process, and I think all have some difficulties with their processes. And so he had some recommendations for us, and I am looking forward to reading that. So that will come at the in a couple weeks in our meeting, and hopefully a final draft will be done probably next month or so.
Thank you, Commissioner Levitt.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there an update from our police practices work group?
Sorry, I was trying to find the unmute button. So we submitted responses to the OIG work plan, and I believe Officer Mullins is working with the co-chairs to have a presentation to the group at large. I'm not sure if he wants to go into detail on what exactly is that he wants to have presented. I don't want to miscategorize it, but that's what we've been up to in our work group.
Great. Thank you. We look forward to
This is Officer
hearing what
Mullins.
Officer Mullins has to say.
Yeah, what I was attempting to do is try to get a presentation by the poet team to come and present to the General Assembly what they do in terms of our engagement with protests and how different it is and how successful it has been in the last 2-3 years. I have been on these protests. I have been geared up to go to these protests, and we have had relatively very minor contact with the protesters. They've been able to protest, and we have been able to stay unengaged, which is beautiful for me, and I'm sure it's lovely for them. So whatever it is that the poet team does, it's working in terms of our protest management. Thank you.
Thank you. We look forward to that presentation in some future commission meeting. Behavioral health, is there an update from your work group? Okay. Moving right along, I think we'll hear a little bit more about the legislative work in a few moments, so we'll loop back around to that. We have some new business, Dr. Ellis.
Yeah, so one of the things that I wanted to bring forward as a point of discussion, we've heard from our community engagement staff, like how much they've learned and how important this role is. We have the opportunity now to provide direct feedback to the Seattle Police Department on a couple policies that have been identified as important by us. And so these policies are roughly, I will call it things you can hang up in your office or in precinct break rooms. The policy on that is part of a larger policy related to patrol vehicle operations and facilities that has not been modified since 2007. And so because this is a priority for us, we have the opportunity to get feedback from community members directly on that policy as they address that policy. The other one is, again, a high priority for the Community Police Commission, is how officers use their vehicles and what the limitations are on how they can speed, sometimes inappropriately and in ways that are not necessarily safe for people. So that is another opportunity for us to provide direct community feedback. When I was talking with the co-chairs, we really would like to have focus groups over the course of the next couple months. And we were hoping to hear from community engagement and then from the commissioners as well as what you think that might look like, what kind of benefits might come from that, and who we might want to bring to those discussions. This is something that, we really have a great opportunity here. This is something that the Community Police Commission has been working on for a long time to develop these direct connections to SPD policies to make changes with community input. And this is also something from the consent decree conference that we've identified that many other communities around the country do this and prioritize community engagement as focus groups like this. So I was hoping to hear from, if community engagement, when you hear you have any ideas. I know you have international expertise, you have expertise that's recognized nationwide. What are your thoughts about our opportunities here directly with SPD, as well as any commissioners and what you think of? how we might provide this input into SPD's policies.
So, seeing that I just got this information at 5:30 yesterday, and we were out with the Muslim community, I haven't had much time to think about what that would look like. And so I will be happy to get back with you and have a deeper discussion about it once I have a better idea of what the goal is. And also keeping in mind, this is going into the holiday season too, so.
Is there any commissioner input as to how we might organize the focus groups, or who do we need to make sure is at the table on these focus groups as we look at what can be in one's office, and precinct, as well as around operating a vehicle, the safety of police vehicles?
I don't have any thoughts right now. I'm just trying to think through my head and through the question. Is there a way that maybe we can email you, like if anything pops up? I'm just processing and thinking about which organizations would be best, but I don't want to just spew things out right now. Is there like a deadline for us to start giving some feedback on it?
I would say probably within a week or so. You can email me anytime, by the way. It doesn't have to be specifically for this, but within a week or so would be helpful.
Okay, perfect. Yep. I just want to take some time. It's like I think it's an important question, so I want to have a thoughtful response. I don't want to just say things.
Thank you. Anyone else have a thought right now, or you could email or contact co-chairs at a later time. Executive Director Ellis as well. And also, this might be a good time to say that we continue to receive written public comment. And so if one is listening and wants to weigh in on either of these two issues, please send an email to ocpc@seattle.gov. And in the subject matter, you can put public comment or put up office protocols or motor vehicles, but we want to hear from the community as well. Reverend Walden?
Yeah, I think the thing too that's really important is that the one in the break room, I don't think they've had an update on that to 2007. So how many other policies has not had an update in all those years? I think that's also something that, I mean, how many are there? I mean, we have to wait until it's an incident to find out that the policy hasn't been updated. So, I mean, it looks like that could be something too that we could think about. But to think about that was in the break room and how much stress and harm and consternation that it caused the mother when she found that out, and had been there for a while. To think that, and then they have all those political campaign signs up in there. I mean, the mega hat and stuff like that, and not care about the other officers who might be intimidated about that stuff. So I mean, I think that I think it has calls for a deeper dive into the SPD and also eventually a focus groups with the African American officers somewhere down the line to have a talk with them and the other officers, non-white officers, and what they might be experiencing every day. Some kind of safe group for them to be able to come forward and to be able to talk about what they experience in, because it's a lot of stuff that goes on. What's in the world is also in these agencies and where people work at. So yeah. So anyway, I'm excited about the possibility of gathering more information and to be able to actually work on some policy changes. Just like you saw in the newspaper yesterday about the Roos changes and that kind of stuff. So yeah.
And it is important for us to get community input as we do move forward and recommend policy changes for the Seattle Police Department. So community input is important. In those focus groups, I guess I would like to see, some pedestrians, those who are dependent on public transportation and those who walk a lot, perhaps some students, maybe even bike riders, that may have some concerns about the speed and the use of vehicles. So that's off the top of my head,
Hello.
some folks that might give some input. Yes, Officer Mullins.
Yes. I just wanted to make something clear. When we talk about the incident, Reverend Walden referred to it as a break room. It wasn't really a break room per se. The break room and the television room are open to the general officers, most officers in the precinct. This incident occurred in the bicycle room, which is for the most part for bicycle officers. It is tucked away in the East Precinct downstairs. And most officers in the precinct, other than bike officers, don't go in there, not for the most part. So I have been in East Precinct many times for lots of reasons, but I have no reason to go to the bike office. I have no reason to go in there. I'm not a part of that group, so understand that. While if I would have saw that, I would have been embarrassed, and I probably would have said something about it or had something done about it. But for the most part, Afro-American officers aren't going into that room. So that was kind of hidden off, cordoned off from us for as long as that existed. So it's not the break room, because the break room is open to everyone. This area was a bicycle room where bicycle officers hang out.
Thank you for that clarity.
I have a question for Mark.
Okay.
Hey, Mark, I don't know if you're able to answer this. Someone brought this to my attention one time because they mentioned how folks, they got emotions rose up about the Trump flag and the tombstone, but there's also a picture of this microbe with that sign, "Live Tiny, Die Never," and was making some suggestions about what that means, as far as about that being this microbe that's invincible and it can't be seen. So that's kind of like the "Live Tiny, Die Never," and it's also like a military term as well. And also I guess to suggest that there's something underneath that's happening, kind of like I don't know if it's called a secret cell, but but there might be some organization that's working to be under the radar, under this metaphor, under this analogy. I don't know if you just know anything about that picture, that sign, or if you're able to speak to anything about that, if that made any sense.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that, but anytime we have an organization such as the police department, I wouldn't doubt that there are micro groups that exist that stay secret. I was shocked to find out that officers went to Washington, D.C. I was just shocked. And there was no conversation about it, no rumors about it, no talk about it. It just happened, and I was like, really? There's officers in Washington, D.C. for January 6th? Why would they go? Why would that happen? So, I mean, there are shocking things that happen that are hidden from view. I'm sure that's the same in a lot of organizations such as ours. When we see something, we need to say something.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to move us along on our agenda. Dr. Ellis, would you continue with your presentation on the public safety priorities in the city budget?
Of course. Let me share my screen here. So this is just informational. So as you know, right now, yes, you can see that. The city of Seattle is going through the budget process. This is a budget adjustment process, and there's a lot going on. And so the policy staff and I really want to thank Jessica Ferris for helping me put this together and collect all this information. We have been watching it and following the budget process with things related to public safety so that you don't have to. The budget process happens very quickly. It can be pretty complicated and involves a large number of things. And I just wanted to stay focused on things that are somewhat related to some of the things we've talked about here at the CPC. So the overview is that I'm going to briefly describe the budget process. It is very complicated. I will talk about some highlights from the SPD budget, the way it was presented by the executive, and then see what the changes were from the chair's balancing package, council amendments, and questions. So this information is really helpful. This talks about what the timeline of the budget is. So on September 27th, the mayor proposed the budget adjustments. Again, we're in the middle of a biannual process. So most of the work about the budget was done last year, but there are adjustments that are being made to address policy concerns. So on September 27th, the mayor said his piece, but then city council gets to weigh in. And so there's a number of different steps to that. Between October 11th and 19th, we heard, this is all available on Seattle Channel, from City Council Central staff who talk in detail about what the meaning is of what the mayor was presenting. And that gives some helpful feedback in terms of where we're going with this. On October 20th, Chair Teresa Mosqueda presented the balancing package. She is the chair of the finance committee that manages this entire process. And so the reason why it's called a balancing package is because this is a process where there's a lot of negotiations where if we take something out, we have to put something in. If you're proposing a new program, you've got to cut something somewhere else. And so that's really what the balancing package is about. And I'll talk about what some of the components are that are in there. Then there were amendments that were introduced outside of the balancing package from city council members. And then they are being currently considered. So I will tell you that the stage that we're at right now, we have basic summaries of most of these pieces. Not from the mayor's office, there's detailed information there, but there's going to be more detailed information released later on, and then we'll have a little bit more. So if I'm talking kind of high level, it's because that's all we have at this time. So this is a highlight of the budget adjustments that came from the mayor's office. So in 2024, the proposed changes were 6.6 million more than what was endorsed from last year. Again, we're in the middle of a 2-year process, and 17.2 million above the adopted budget. It added 12.5 more positions, which are all administrative positions. There's some highlights to note here in terms of the budget adjustments at that stage. So the mayor was proposing $1.775 million for the crime prevention pilot project as a pilot. And so this includes a package of things, including automated license plate readers, which are on the officers or on patrol cars, CCTV cameras to see what happens in different neighborhoods, and then acoustic gunshot locator systems. This has been emphasized that it's a pilot program. This is not going all over the city, and that the potential deployment locations are around North Aurora, downtown, around the 3rd Avenue corridor, and Belltown. So next, if you remember the timeline, came the balancing package. So this is city council and specifically the chair's proposals for what this might look like to balance all out. So when it came to that same package that I was talking about, the criminal justice pilot program, the balancing package has $1.5 million and focuses on the CCTV and acoustic gunfire locator systems. What's very important and different about this is that it makes clear that there needs to be a racial equity toolkit analysis as well as surveillance impact reports required. So there's always surveillance impact reports required on this technology, but the racial equity toolkit analysis is something that is required before these things will ever be deployed or used, if it even goes forward, because this isn't done yet. There are also some other things that we've talked about in CPC that you see showing up in other budgets besides SPD. So in the Human Services Department, you may recall that there was the Affected Persons Program. That had been a program to address the needs of people that have been affected by police violence. Last year, that was in the Office of Police Accountability, and then it was taken out, and eventually the funds ended up with the executive. So the proposal in the balancing package is to reestablish that program. It's the same amount as it was before, $100,000, and the funding would come out of the Human Services Department, and it would be hosted by a community group that we heard about earlier today, which is Black Coffee Northwest. Also in the Human Services Department there's an addition of $200,000 for a diversion and de-escalation program by community-based organizations, including Community Passageways, and a $500,000 ad for Regional Peacekeepers Collective. So then after that balancing package came out, then other council members got to come up with their own ideas of different policy proposals they want. And again, this is pretty much all the information we have right now. We don't have the details, it's very high level. But other council members are proposing $550,000 for community safety investments, such as the Seattle Neighborhood Group. Another proposal that we've been asked to weigh in on is exploring the possibility of having the Office of Police Accountability be separate from the SPD's budget. So as you know, CPC's budget is a standalone budget item, as well as OIG's, but OPA's budget is part of SPD's budget, which we see in other places. And so the proposal is to have the budget office explore what that would look like if they were to stand alone on their own. Another one is requesting, it is currently community safety and I don't know exactly what it stands for, but it's CSEC. That's where the dispatchers are, and that's where the care team is. You may have seen them in the news. So these are responders to people with mental health crisis, another branch of public safety. There's a request there for a plan to increase their staffing overall by 30%. We heard at our last meeting about domestic violence supports. In these proposed amendments, there's support for domestic violence programs of different types. There's also, again in HSD, a gap analysis proposed between the city's current and priority investments in gun violence prevention to inform the work of the care department. There is also funding proposed to support OIG for investigations when there is a conflict of interest, to give them separate funds for that. And then in SPD, there are two items kind of hidden in there. One is funding for an existing deputy director. There's somebody already working there in that role in OPA, as well as $250,000 for a contract with Trulio, which we heard about a couple months ago when we heard from Mr. Brian Maxey about how they use that program. So the key point when it comes to this is that these are all just ideas. This is not set yet. None of these things might happen, or they might happen. We just have to sort of watch the process, see how they're negotiating, what the budget's going to look like. I just wanted to give you all a heads up as to here's what they're talking about now. We're happy to answer any questions, or if you ever hear anything about this and you would like the policy staff from CPC to hunt down some answers, we're happy to do that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ellis. Any questions for her?
This is Commissioner Erickson. I don't have a question, just a comment. Thank you, Dr. Ellis. That was very helpful. We track the city budget process very closely. November 13th is a very important day. That's when the public hearing will be on the council's amendments and their proposals, as they take the next 2.5 days after that to vote on those amendments. And it's a really important moment. I'll be testifying on behalf of my work on the investments that the mayor proposed for those pilot projects. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving right along.
Question. One
Yeah.
question, please. Sorry. My question with the budget is there no money set aside for community policing?
This is, how do I answer that? There is money within SPD's budget currently, but my perception is that SPD decided in these adjustments that they could make, again, this is not starting from scratch, this is just an adjustment from what was set last year, that they wanted to prioritize these technological components, specifically the automated gunfire detection and CCTVs.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
I would add that this is a biennial budget, so whatever spending plan they have is what they should be doing. And these proposals are, as Dr. Ellis alluded, simply adjustments to this halfway through the biennial budget. Yep.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Well, Dr. Elf, did you want to introduce to us Wyatt Arledge?
Yes, I'd be happy to. So you heard earlier this year, and you heard from me last year, that CPC is going to be involved in the legislative process in Olympia. You notice that there's a number of things that have come up as we've been looking at, for example, contracts, that when the city decides to agree on contracts that are not in line with the city's own accountability ordinance, there's really nothing we can do. However, state laws can take precedence over that. And so it's one of the things that we really want to prioritize is bringing the CPC to what's happening at the state in terms of police reform, in terms of other things that are related to the work that we do, because the state really has a lot happens there. It's a very different dynamic than just the city, but it can have very strong impacts, as you've seen what happened, the reforms that happened in 2021, very strong impacts on what happens here in Seattle. And so we have hired someone to work for the CPC for this legislative session who is an expert in this area, who has a lot of great connections, and who's going to help us put our name on the map in Olympia as people that are very interested in a commission that's very interested in staying engaged with outreach at that level, at the state level. So I would like to introduce Wyatt Arledge. Welcome.
Hey, everybody, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, it's my first time using WebEx, so this is a little new to me. I apologize. Hey, it's great to meet you all. I've met a couple of you already. Nice to see the rest of you. I was asked to just kind of talk about, what my role will be here for you in the next legislative session. And so I kind of broke it down into, I think, 3 key points. I think the first one, you guys already have great policy staff and you have your community voices to speak on issues. And I kind of see my role mainly as giving you all political perspective and strategy on both kind of individual bills, as well as kind of the bigger picture. Sometimes bills end up getting what we call linked together, where it's part of sort of a package, as well as kind of putting things in perspective of where they rank in the legislature's focus right now. There's a lot of talk on housing, behavioral health, and those sort of things, and they really all tie in together. And so I see that as kind of my first big role for you guys. The second one would just be relationship building, right? I think there's a lot of different facets to that. There's building relationships with individual legislators, namely from Seattle, as well as the relevant committee chairs, committee members, and players in this space. And so that's going to look like having meetings and giving input on positions, and as well as other groups. There's committee or community group, other community groups to tie into tribal governments, labor groups, as well as law enforcement representatives. I think it's helpful when you're trying to get stuff done down in Olympia to be able to have open communication with as many folks as possible. It doesn't mean that you have to agree on everything, but just building that goodwill of working with other folks on issues. And so I see that as kind of a very important piece. And the third piece would be what it's probably the most relevant for you all is helping you guys engage in the process down in Olympia. So, legislators hear from us lobbyists all the time. They get a bit annoyed of us, especially during short sessions, such as the one that we're about to go into. And so really it's helpful to have you all engaged in the process as well. And that takes kind of 3 separate forms. The first and most, I don't want to say important, but most crucial one is public testimony. on bills. That's actually, it used to be coming down to Olympia. Now, luckily, in the virtual world, you can zoom into committee hearings to give testimony. So you don't run into the issue of driving all the way down here and then they run out of time and you just get to go sit back on I-5 again. So luckily, they made it really easy for folks to engage in that process. And so I can help you all, coordinate on who's going to testify and on what, help draft testimony about kind of key points you should hit, and then just walk folks through the process. I think sometimes it's a bit intimidating for folks doing it for the first time, even the second and third time. And there's certain little nuances that you have to follow when you're giving testimony. And so I'll be there to just help walk folks through that and make it as simple as I can. The other thing is going to be scheduling meetings, individual meetings with legislators on specific bills they're running or bills that are going through their committees, and having commissioners and staff people show up to give input on those. And then kind of the third one that's more community relevant, I think, is just helping folks learn how to contact their legislators. I think most folks aren't aware of who represents them down here in Olympia. There's a district finder tool I can share on the legislature's website where you just put in your address and it tells you who all of your legislators are, gives you their contact information. And so just kind of helping folks understand their ability to email and phone call their legislators about issues that they're passionate about. And I think that really helps drive community engagement. And then kind of like an asterisk or a number 4 is really just anything else you guys feel like you need help with, even if it's just understanding some of the nuances of the process down here in Olympia and how a bill becomes a law. More importantly, how bills don't become laws, how they die. And there are no stupid questions. There's a ton of rules and process down here in Olympia. They can also always be broken. So, you follow it until it's not true anymore, and then you pivot. So happy to answer any of those and help you all through that process. So I know we're kind of out of time here, so just want to leave it open if anybody has any questions or comments.
Thank you, Wyatt. We look forward to working with you on this upcoming legislative session. We probably have some time for a comment or a question or two. All right, hearing none. We will be in touch as we move forward. Thank you again.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
Thanks. All right, the last thing on our agenda is department updates. Is there an update from the city council?
Aldrich, aide to Public Safety Committee Chair Herbold. Interim Director Ellis and Commissioner Erickson covered a lot of the budget stuff I was going to talk about already, but just on background, during the COVID era, starting in 2020, the city changed its budget process away from 2-year budget cycles to 1-year budgets because of the uncertainty of revenues that were coming in. So if you've been accustomed to that, this is a return to the process that existed before, where there's a 2-year budget adopted, and the second year cycle is based on that 2-year budget. So what you see in the published proposed budget, because of that, reflects changes to that budget and is significantly shorter than last year's budget. As mentioned, the budget committee met last Friday with the proposed amendments that are all available online at the council's committee website. The week of the 13th, the budget committee will be meeting, and on the 13th, more fleshed out versions of the amendments, as was mentioned earlier, will be presented. And there will be a public hearing during the evening on the 13th. And then votes are scheduled to start on the 14th, though that depends on getting through everything on the 13th. Currently scheduled meetings on the 14th and the 15th, though time has been held on the 16th because it is possible that it could go a little longer. So the chair wanted to reserve that in case it's necessary. And then the city council would vote to approve the budget the following week. Just a couple points about one of the items that was presented by Interim Chair Ellis. The item providing funds for outside investigations for the Inspector General is something that comes from the legislation that Councilmember Herbold sponsored to establish a process for investigations that named the chief. That was not covered during the 2017 accountability ordinance. And one thing that OPA that OIG especially has raised is that no funds were provided in that, and it does require some funds. So this is designed to address that. One additional budget item that doesn't have funding is a request to the Human Services Department about the LEAD program to develop a couple of things. First of all, to lay out and address the impacts of the recently adopted legislation that the mayor proposed regarding public use and possession, gross misdemeanor law regarding controlled substances. And secondly, to lay out a plan for data integration for LEAD, which is lacking between departments. Also wanted to mention about the ruse policy that the mayor announced that went into effect or goes into effect today. Councilmember Herbold has spent a lot of time on that and was included in the press release and specifically thanked Converge Media because it was their coverage and questions that led to that investigation. And also regarding the state legislative agenda, in December, the council acts on and adopts the city state legislative agenda for the following year's legislative session. And Councilmember Herbold has worked in the past to integrate Community Police Commission priorities into that document. So a lot of them are reflected in the document. And if the CPC has any others they'd like to have incorporated into that document, please let us know. She's happy to work on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aldridge. Is there an update from the mayor's office? Mr. Ward, is there something you'd like to share with us from the monitoring team?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning.
Morning.
In addition to what Commissioner Levitt alluded to regarding complaint appeals, Dr. Rosenthal on the monitor team and Vanessa Wheeler continue to work towards ultimate finalization of the accountability assessment. Other than that, I have no news to report on the monitor team. I think that the consent decree conference has been adequately covered by other people who spoke this morning.
Thank you so much. Is there an update from the Office of Police, Department of Justice?
Yeah, good morning. Update from the DOJ. Thanks.
No update? Okay. OPA update?
So we had our deputy director just joined a couple weeks ago. We're happy to have her. She's kind of getting up to speed right now, and I think that's about it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. OIG.
Hi, we don't really have any updates, although I know that Deputy Inspector General Bessie Scott will be talking, I believe, at the next meeting in a couple weeks. So she'll give, I think, a really good overview of what we're doing and updates on our work. So we'll save it for that, but thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome and thank you. And we look forward to hearing from OIG in our upcoming meetings. And lastly, Mr. Maxey, do you have anything from the Seattle Police Department you'd like to share as an update? Well, he was here. Okay. Hearing none, Reverend Walden has a comment and then we will adjourn.
Yeah, I just want to comment about the rules ordinance. The mayor is signing in today, and also you mentioned Converge Media and True Transparency. Omari Salisbury is my son, and so this is the first time a reporter reporting on any incident has has, across the nation, has resulted in a policy change. So anyway, he's getting a lot of calls from around the country about that, because a lot of reporters work all their life and, and never get such a policy change. But what happened here during the top and with that incident, and people was really thinking that the Proud Boys was coming, and it was really something that happened, especially for the people who were out there in that stuff that was going on. That was like a war zone for community. So anyway, just wanted to mention that piece. That was something that was happened because of two incidents, but the one that he mentioned was that the Noah mentioned was Converge Media reporting and actually filing a complaint to get more information about what happened.
Shall converge.
Yeah.
And we are grateful to Converge Media. Any other comments before we close our time together? We have 2 minutes. Hearing none, I'm grateful for your presence, and our CPC meeting for today is now adjourned. Thank you. Have a great day.